Welcome everybody to the very first More Than Meets the Bars, and today we're doing More Than Meets the Bars Volume 1, and today we're discussing Jazmine Sullivan's Heaux Tales, and with me I have my dear friend, Regina. So first, we're going to go into our initial reaction to the album. I'll let you go first. What did you think about the album? What did you feel when you heard it? Give me the deets.
When I first listened to the album, I wasn't listening to it like for lyrics. I was kind of just listening to it because, everyone on Instagram is like, oh, Jazmine Sullivan's album just dropped. So I'm just like kind of playing it in the background. But when I actually listened to it for lyrics, child, it was dragging me up and down because that was the first time I had seen an album style where there are like interludes in between each song. Because a lot of artists put their interludes like sporadically within the album. And she strategically placed hers to be like in between each track. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of feeling that, like different perspectives from different women. So I was like, I could vibe to this. That was my first initial reaction.
I felt the same way. I was like, I really liked the way she structured it. And also just her voice. Like, I was so floored by everything she was doing. Like, I can't even sing most of these songs back because I can't sing to save my life. But she sounded amazing. And I also like that she worked with the same producers that she's always worked with. So her sound in this album isn't too far from what she usually does. What really stuck out to me more than anything was the lyrics because of the stories and the things she was saying. So let's dive into it. She called this an LP, not an album, and I'm surprised because there's 14 tracks on there, which sounds like an album to me. And
but the interludes, they're mad short.
They are short. It was 32 minutes, which is not a lot. So the first one was Bodies. Track 2 is Antoinette, and I can't say that name.
Antoinette, yeah.
Yes, Her Tale. And then, of course, they go into Pick Up Your Feelings. 4 is Ari's Tale by Ari Lennox, which was a standout for me because baby girl was talking about being stigmatized. And I don't know about you, but I've been there a couple times. Then we go into Put It Down. Then we get to a very... this song... On it.
I can't.
7 is Donna's Tale. Price Tag featuring Anderson .Paak. Number 9, Rashida's Tale. 10, Lost One. 11, Precious's Tale. 12, The Other Side. 13, Amanda's Tale. And 14, Girl Like Me featuring H.E.R. So spill the tea, sis. Which track you related to the most?
Let me look at it. I know one that I was like, okay. No, one that there were two. That I feel like got to me, but if I had to pick one of the two,
come on now.
If I had to pick one of the two, it would be "Girl Like Me," which was the last song on the album, but also "Lost One" because that one was really speaking to my spirit. Like that one was getting me in my feels, and I feel like that's the reason why I didn't want to even pick that one. Just that,
right? Because what you relate to is very telling to your experiences.
Right, and you in my business. Don't do that.
For me, I definitely, I think I related to a lot of them in some ways, but I'm going to go ahead and choose Bodies. And
JK. I'll just hear.
Bodies and Lost One. Lost One just gets you. And just the way she sings it.
And it's the melody of it too. It gets you in your feelings. Like even if I didn't hear the lyrics and I just heard like the melody,
it's very sad, girl.
It's very sad.
It's very SZA had a sister, and she's sad too. But this one is singing. Not that SZA don't sing, but
not you dragging SZA low key right there.
Never. I would never. That is.
Nah, we know that's your way. Calm down.
Wow, exactly. Okay, so I want to go into some lyrics. I picked 3.5-ish. The first one I picked was from Bodies. And it reads, and my mama wouldn't like it if she knew about all my rendezvous and all my whereabouts. I keep on piling up bodies on bodies. Yeah, you getting sloppy, girl. And the reason why I chose that one,
That's a bone to pick, hands. You
this is
got a
the
bone to
bone to
pick with this
pick. Those are
album.
the prayer hands. The
Oh,
reason
I
why
see.
I picked that quote is because a lot of women, or a lot of people in general, but I'm speaking specifically for women because this is from a woman's perspective. We have like this double life, kind of,
Oh,
where
all right. If you wanted us to pass around the collection plate, just say that.
we
Because
gotta we gotta let them know. We gotta spill the tea. A lot of
feel.
women are have this goal, I guess, to be this certain type of woman because they think that
Mm,
that's what their family expects them to be, or
yeah.
what they imagine them to be. Especially if you're not, bringing boys around and introducing people to who you're dating. Your parents kind of have this like, this girl, I know she's out there behaving, but really you're throwing it back.
Oh.
And things are getting crazy brazy because the streets are talking about you. Or maybe not even the streets are talking about you, but maybe you're messing around town too close into
Mm-hmm.
circles, you know? And I really started to think about how people use sex to cover underlying issues,
Mm.
whether it be from home or the expectation from their parents or the world, and we're just out here throwing it back. And I thought that was interesting because that was one of the songs that I related to most. I'm not saying I was being a little thotty, but I was outside, you feel me? I was just exploring my body
Right.
and trying things with different people because I had been in a long relationship for so long that I kind of didn't really get to have that whole phase, right? That's what people call it. But in that relationship, even if it was like not the best relationship, I felt like this is what we do. We have long term relationships. You find that guy or your high school sweetheart, and now you're married to him. But life took its course, and I was outside. And so, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think bodies eat like it being the start of the album, it already starts dragging you. Like, and you don't even get to listen to the album and get into it and see like what you like and what you don't like. It's already like, yeah, girl. So we're outside with you.
Period.
We're drunk. We're going home with whoever is driving a Benz, and that's it. But I think like that underlying feeling of like regret and guilt is also
Mm,
there too because she's saying like, what's in my cup? Why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep racking up these bodies? And it's like just the way women are taught to feel about sleeping with multiple partners is not the same energy for guys. Guys are not. You are not finding no rapper making anything that matches bodies on her album. Because when they talk about racking up bodies, it's like, yeah, I was with home with this girl and this girl.
it's an accomplishment.
Right. It's an accomplishment. But for her, it's like, oh, like, why do I keep doing this? My mom would be so like, she would be feeling crazy if she knew like what I was out here on the streets
Mm,
doing. It's like where we have to live this double life, even to our friends. Like we can even just sometimes tell our friends like, yeah, girl, so do because even because you may think that people will be judging you because for women, when you have multiple partners, especially at one time, oh
mm-hmm.
baby, it's like a whole different situation. If you don't have under like, I don't know, 5, 7 bodies, you automatically
And that's so crazy because that goes into the first tale where she's talking about how niggas forget that basically like we're sexual beings too. And if you do anything outside of what is deemed as a good girl, you're getting judged. And now you kind of be added to this list, like this
But
blackball
what
list.
is that, right?
I
Because she
don't
was
know.
saying like they cannot handle. It's not even that they don't know. They know we're sexual beings, but they cannot
Hmm.
handle when we move around like how they move
It's
around.
too much for
And
them.
so they manipulate us by saying, "Oh, you're a hoe. You're not wifey material," because that's their way of like controlling the situation. Oh, you want to be out here?
Hmm.
You want to be moving like me? Yeah, okay. You're off the wife list. And now we're supposed to
Oof.
be like, "Oh my god, we're off the wife list. I'm just gonna wife me," and it's not true. Like, first of all,
It's a
most of the
lie.
time, guys don't even care. They don't even be asking you what your body count is because guys don't really care like that. They just want to make you feel bad about it because they want their girl to be clean. They want their girl to be
They're already assuming that you have this reputation. just off of what you look like to them. Anyway, they're prejudging you. They're like, this girl, she looks good. I might holler at her. But then they don't bother to ask that. And I feel like women are more concerned with men's past because it's kind of telling of who they are in front of you. But it's like men dismiss that. I don't know if they're like delusional, they don't care,
No,
or
because if that guy likes you and wants to be with you, he's not gonna be pressed about what you had going on because you don't got that stuff going on anymore. But women, we be pressed about. I mean,
everything.
and not to go into different conversation, but yeah. So like, they don't be pressed about it. And then when she ended with saying like, we're telling guys that the pee is theirs when really it's ours, and we should like have the freedom and the room to take ownership of it and not feeling like, oh, well, because I gave a little bit to this guy and this guy and this guy. You should feel comfortable doing what you want to do and make your own decisions. However you choose to live your life is no judgment, and you should feel secure in that and not feel like crap after, or feel like you need to get your life together because you're doing what you
whatever you want. So I want to go into the second lyrical breakdown, which is number 13 is Amanda's tale. So I want to take what Amanda said. Whoever Amanda is, Amanda was saying things. This is the last tale on the LP. And she said, in one way, it's empowering. In another way, it's sad. I feel moments of sadness knowing that just me alone and who I am is not enough. And before that, she was talking about basically how we use sex for power because we want men to keep coming back to us. And we know if we show them what that mouth do, then that they will come back to keep, just to keep getting it back. She also talked about having sex with different people and kind of showing people like, I'm out here, I don't have feelings. But at the end, it doesn't really make her feel good. And that goes to what I was talking about earlier with those underlying issues when you're out here doing what you got to do. But really, it's like, why am I spending so much time focusing on sex when I really don't got to be doing all that?
Right.
But you're kind of like in between, like, you think you're snatching your power back by doing that and having options. And then it goes into the last track, Girl Like Me. The line I picked, wow. And Girl Like Me is, I feel like Jazmine Sullivan was singing from a place of like, we use our sex for power because otherwise it's too much pressure to be a woman. And she talks about like, you got to have a certain look and you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to be like basically pleasing the man. And she's like, I don't want to.
I'm sorry. I really just got sick because I was listening. I listened to that track multiple times, and obviously that's the reason why the interlude before it because it went into the track of like, it was with her, right? That was the feature.
Yep.
And talking about how guys are impressed by the most bare minimum things and will literally bookmark one girl. Do I want to be with you? I don't know. Turn around over here. Okay, I did love you, but I found somebody else and I want to be with her. And I know you're sad, but why are you bugging? Like, I didn't even do anything wrong. All I did was make you fall in love with me. And then I went and was with somebody else, but it's fine. Like, and then it's just the fact that like, okay, so we're going to have to be the ones to switch up how we move because men are obviously interested in like the Fashion Nova dresses and the girls that look a certain way. So we need to aspire to be more like that to get these guys' attention. But the underlying to that is that those men are shitty. And if you are going to change up character to be with a man, you already lost. You already making rookie mistakes. But it's also that thin line of like, we're not changing for no man, but also, dang, will we ever find a man that we really want to be with like, if we don't make some changes?
Yeah, there's a line in there where she says, what is it that I don't have? Like, basically, when you get broken up or you get played by a guy, you start to ask yourself, what is it about me? You have all this self-doubt, you lose confidence. Because you have all this pressure of like finding love, right? Like, and I feel like especially in this generation, people are so like trying to be in relationships and like, and she mentioned
not just
like
squinting your eyes to that.
She talked about she's talking about dating apps, and she talks about, and I'm just saying like before dating apps were like frowned upon. You're meeting someone online. Oh my gosh, you're dating someone. Now everyone's on Tinder and POF and all the things, finding love and just falling into situations that you don't really get the results you desired. Like I feel like we spend too much time trying to be in relationships and lose focus and lose sight of ourselves. And that's what that song
Right.
was to me. It's like the title Girl Like Me. It's like, why not me? Like, why am I not worthy?
Mm,
What is it about me that is making these men run away or not want to stick around? Do I got to
mm.
dress like the girls on Instagram because they're liking them all day?
And then it's like, where is there room in this world for a girl like me, right? Like,
Mm
and even her says in her portion
hmm.
that like she's not gonna do this good girl thing anymore because that's not the cool thing. That's not what the guys are looking for. So where in this world is there room for a good girl like me that's different? Maybe I'm, funny, or maybe I don't have that certain body type, but how am I going to keep up? And it's like, okay, well, I'm doing all this, I'm falling in love, and I'm being loyal to these guys that are not being loyal to me and feeling like they're just going to toss me to the side and upgrade.
Mm
And okay, well, then you're just going to make a hoe out of me. Instead of me being down and being loyal for guys that I like, I'm going to just move around like y'all. But why though?
hmm. Mm hmm.
Like, people fall in love and fall out of love all the time. But you got to go into it with no regrets, baby, and just do, and love wholeheartedly. But we find that a lot, right? Like when women get heartbroken, not just women, men, our non-binary friends, peeps, everyone, you get heartbroken and you feel like, well, I did what I could do in that relationship. And I feel like that person was not seeing me, they were not understanding me, and they treated me like crap, like I was nothing. So maybe I am nothing. And maybe I should move around like how
Mm,
other people are, because I'm the only one out here being loyal. I'm the only one out here putting in effort. So
right.
why should I be doing all that? I should move around like everybody else. But no, no. It's okay to want to find love, but it's also okay to not want to find love.
And when you said that, it takes me back to price tags, which is getting tricked on and tricking.
Oh wow.
And I was
You want to talk
think
about that? That's what you said?
listen, I'm just saying. I'm just saying
Oh, okay.
I'm just thinking about like the good girl versus the bad girl image. Like for some strange reason when we look at the bad girl and we look at her like look at her having fun. Look at her getting good D. Look at her with the new purse and the new shoes and outside looking fly. Meanwhile, I'm here working a 9 to 5 and Tyrone hasn't answered my text messages in over 2 weeks. What am I doing wrong? And he's chasing that same type of girl that I'm looking at.
But we're all judging that girl though. Like you see the bad girl or that girl, and it's
Some of
like,
us.
I bet she look at how people look at Lori Harvey. I mean, not even to go into that, but that woman never even talks. And they're like, she's a hoe. She's always
Really.
being with some guy. She's
I've been
always doing
hearing the
this and that.
opposite. I've been
She's, first
hearing
of
that
all,
she's a
just
savage
living
and
her
she's
life.
great and that she's a legend. I'm like,
But it's like people are making up things about her just based off of her dating history, not even like her accomplishments, things that she has done,
but has she done?
just off of her dating history. And it's like the good girls want to be bad girls, the bad girls want to be good girls, and everybody wants a piece of the other side. And we're just allowing men to dictate how we should show up in spaces based on,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I want to be married, or oh, I want to find a boyfriend, so I need to be what he wants me to be. Like, no, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And if you can't
Yes.
handle that, that's on you.
And that's on period. And that's going into the takeaway from the album, which is the last portion of what I wanted to discuss was basically what this album told me is that we're all having these different experiences, but the main thing in common is our lack of interest in ourselves and too much interest on what the man wants us to be or what the man wants us to do or what we want from men. But at the end of it all, you lose yourself in that judging each other as women when we all have this one thing in common. And if we share our stories, then we can learn from each
Mm,
other and we can see the other side. Like if the good girl sits down with the bad girl, she can then be like, "Oh, we're kind of really going through the same thing just in different spaces."
literally.
But a lot of women don't take the time to discuss those things or sit down and tell each other the real tea because they're ashamed or because they just don't care to.
Right. And they don't want to be judged because the world is judging women as it is. So you're like, I'm just going to do what I do and keep it to myself. But then it turns into trauma, right? And then it festers. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not a good time. I mean, like a huge takeaway that I took from the album is how, as women, we show up in our own sexual bodies. Do we look at our sexual beings as being a positive or do we look at it as being a negative? Because even if you are a person who is not going to express, like, or come into your sexual being, no, I'm not saying this right. Even if you're a person that's waiting until marriage to go into having intercourse, right? You are still a sexual being even prior to that. You are still figuring out your own body and the things that you like and the things that you don't like. And you will teach your partner that one day. Or if you're someone that's having sex with someone new every single night, you're still understanding your sexual being. And I think it's the conversation of why can't we talk about who we are as sexual beings? Why do we have to keep that on the inside, tucked away until we hear an album like this or until we hear girls somewhere else talking about it and we jump in the conversation? Like, why does it have to be a one-off? Like, why aren't we having these conversations more often so that it feels normal? Even if you're not having sex, it's okay to talk about it and talk about the things that you or have questions. If you have questions, asking them to other women that have been where you are, or just feeling that freedom to say, you know what, I'm kind of racking up some bodies. I should probably chill. Or, I loved this guy and he treated me like crap and now I feel insecure. Or,
Right.
I love this person. I treated them like crap and now I'm regretting it. Like, it's not just sex, it's also love.
Mm-hmm.
How it's a roller coaster for all of us, not just women.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted
Or
to
maybe we make it
do.
dramatic for
th-
ourselves.
that's true, and that's why I wanted to do this, and I called it More Than Meets the Bars because a lot of times there comes this out an album like this where it does open up that conversation and gets people talking about things that they probably didn't feel comfortable talking about. And I feel like
Right.
Jazmine Sullivan has always kind of been the voice of the woman that nobody really wants to talk about because she's talking some craziness. Like when she made
Right.
bust the windows out, bust your windows, and she's talking about busting the windows out your car because she caught you with some girl. So I feel like her
Right.
perspective is always coming from a scarred place, and
But also, let's talk about Jasmine Sullivan's masterpiece, which is on the other side of the spectrum, where she talks about loving her body and loving herself and being a masterpiece. Like, she gives us range, baby.
listen, she does, and that's what I really. It was diverse. It's her singing it, but it's really telling the stories of women all over. Like, and that's what I loved about the tales, the interludes in the middle, because Jazmine Sullivan is kind of being the voice for women that don't have that voice. So I think, in my humble opinion, that this album will be a classic album because it's like that shift in the culture where women are getting in a space where they're comfortable talking about these things. And we are seeing a different type of woman today. We're seeing the woman that's a worker, as an entrepreneur, getting to the bag and doing this, da da da, and I think this is the perfect album to reflect our generation. We do
Mm.
have these different nuances as women, and it needs to be talked about. And maybe we give it to you in an album or an LP so that you can receive it in a more, como se dice, welcoming way.
Not como se dice. I think women also should have discussions around albums like this, just like how we're doing right now. We're all listening to it, so why aren't we talking about it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not? Like, why are we not talking, sitting with our girls and being like, girl, let me tell you what happened? But it's like an open, free, safe space. There's no judgment there. It's like we're just here to support one another as women who are being introduced to our sexual selves and being
Mm-hmm.
introduced to our feminine selves and being introduced to our masculine selves and being introduced to ourselves in love. Like, women are multifaceted. We can be one thing one day and literally take a full 180 the next day. It's not because, you know, you're the good girl and bad girl don't exist. Whatever woman you show up as when you show up is who you're choosing to be that day. And that's it because you are one of one. But I think society does, in different ways, push women to want to be ideal to be a
Mm-hmm.
wife. And there is no cookie cutter way to be a wife. There are people who are wives and who are so far from what the wife model looks like, but they're perfectly happy. So it's like being happy within yourself, knowing yourself, getting to know your different identities. That's gonna make you every woman. Cause I'm every woman, and it's all in
Okay. Not
me.
getting mad close to the microphone. It was so
Right.
beautiful the way she packaged everything. I have not stopped listening to this album since it came out. I'm in
Good
different
girl.
bags every time. We get
And don't forget
sexy.
my girls talking about tricking on their own husbands, baby.
I love that part because it shows that older women have so much value in a conversation because they have experiences. Like, we're going through these experiences now, but they have already gone through it.
Right.
So they have things to share and say,
Right.
and they got time. They had a lot of time
Okay.
in that tale. She was spilling all the tea. And the secret to marriage, I guess, is you gotta.
Don't be
Okay,
spreading
no, no,
lies over
no,
here.
no. All right, I'm just
We
going
don't
by
know.
what's her name, Donna. I'm just going by what Donna was saying.
Because Donna was telling T.
Donna was telling everything we needed to know about our marriage, which was, you got to find out what you value in this relationship. You got to figure yourself out before you jump into things. And I think that
Check
that's what
yourself
this
before
album
you
is
wreck
about.
yourself.
Yeah, self-discovery. I'm loving it
And it's
all.
always about that. Like self discovery is ongoing. You're not gonna discover yourself today and then be like, I have it all figured out. Like you're gonna discover new sides of yourself just as you grow up, as you fall in and out of love, as you encounter different people. Self discovery. It's an ongoing process. Healing. It's an ongoing process. And your story does not make you less than because there are things that have come up in your past or things that have come up in your story or things that will come up in your story. Like, don't let nobody define you a hoe. And if you want to be a hoe, be a hoe. And if you want to be defined as a hoe, be defined as a hoe. It's more like, I like what you said about understanding this relationship with yourself. And I love that Jazmine Sullivan is like, yo, I'm going to just talk about what we be going through. Like, people will be able to resonate with this LP because it's not an album. And we did. You may not be able to resonate with everything. And I wish we would have, like, we need a part two.
You know what? But that's okay that we didn't resonate with everything because then we learned something from a different perspective.
We
From
need a part two
somebody
because you
else's
know what? You
experience.
know whose tale was really getting to me? Not to me personally, but it was getting to like my spirit.
Mm,
Was the same one you were talking about when she said, sex has become my power. And I don't feel
that's Amanda's tale.
yes, like I don't feel comfortable being in a relationship because I feel like I always have to be looking over my shoulder for the next girl that's gonna come and try to take my man or whatever. But I know if I'm having sex with him, he'll always come back. And it's like, yeah, he's coming back in the physical, but baby, that's it. Men are very physical and they're very visual. They'll tell you themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, how much power, like how far does the power go? I mean, if you only want
Yeah.
him for the goodies, then it goes pretty far. But if you want him for more than that, yeah, he's coming back. But like, we need a part two because I feel like mm,
There's
this
so
is
much in this. There's so much in this.
I feel like we
And
didn't
that's
really
why I
even get
wanted to
to
talk about it because it has to be talked about. It has to be expressed because there's so much to unravel. Like it's layers upon layers. Even in just somebody's one tale, and it's like a minute and 30 seconds, there's so much in it. But we are wrapping up now. And that's the beauty of this because it's quick. And
but I don't like that. But it's
I
fine.
was just going to say that it's also to prove that music is deeper than what you hear. There's
Right.
so much, there's so many themes and so many concepts in music. And so I love music and I will forever be talking about music inside and outside wherever I am. Headphones on, headphones off, blasting through the speakers. Like,
I know you got to get that together.
listen, music is really the soundtrack of our lives because people who are writing it are living beings who are experiencing things like we do.
Right.
And so here it is, More Than Meets the Bars, Volume 1, Jazmine Sullivan with my dear friend Regina. And it's so weird to be doing this on, you know what? I don't like technology. It's deceiving. Hey, ooh, ah, oh, wow.
We in here and that's on period.